Hello and welcome to the Briefing Room. I'm your host, Bill Froehlich from WTCM Radio News. It's our weekly roundtable discussion about some of the stories that are making headlines here in Northern Michigan this week. And joining me at the table this week, Vanessa Fayz from 9 and 10 News. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you. And Pat Sullivan from Northern Express. Pat, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Bill.
Good to see you guys. Let's talk about one of the big, maybe more exciting stories of the week. Kind of got national attention from a lot of places, this bear attack in Wexford County. This 12-year-old girl just out for a jog.
Yeah.
I would freak out if that was me. I don't know what I would do.
We're taught that with black bear, they're not going to come after you. Like if you make some noise and if they find out that you're a person running through the woods, they'll see you before you see them and you'll never, that's what we're taught. So this was weird because it sounds like this bear went after this girl.
It does, yeah. And then she had said in her interview that she tried to pet it after. It jumped on her 3 times. So it was just strange. And then she played dead, and I think that worked for her. But
well, I think that the neighbor coming and interrupting worked for her.
Yeah.
Because she did. I mean, what they tell you to do, it's like if you're in the middle of the woods by yourself and you're attacked by a bear, what they tell you to do is the exact opposite that all your instincts would tell you to do. Like you're supposed to stand up to it, yell at it in a authoritative voice, make yourself look big,
right.
And then if it comes at you, you're supposed to fight back. You're not supposed to play dead. You're not supposed to run. You're not supposed to show any fear. You're supposed to act like a tough guy, and
that would not work for me.
That would be hard. That would be hard to do if you were like looking at
said than done.
a 250-pound bear.
Right. So. Absolutely.
So, yeah, and she said that the bear ran off, but then she got up and tried to run. It came back after a second time.
Yeah.
Just what a nightmare for her.
I have no idea what I would do in that situation.
Well, it got obviously lots of local attention, but I was working the morning shift that morning, and our DJ said she's on Good Morning America right now.
It was in People magazine. OK, it was in all kinds of all over the place.
Yeah, because there was another bear attack in Alaska the same weekend, and I saw something on CNN that there were a couple more. I mean, the two that got the most attention. There was a hunter who got attacked by a bear in Alaska. But this was obviously the more interesting story because it's this innocent running through the woods. She's jogging and minding her own business near her home, and just something that you don't expect to happen.
What do you make of the fact that it got national attention? I mean, obviously it's an interesting story, but it's also a girl in the woods in northern Michigan. It's not. I mean, it doesn't scream headlines necessarily.
Oh, I think it does. I mean, first of all, it's your worst nightmare. Second of all, it's something that you don't expect to happen. It's like, this doesn't normally happen. If you look, I researched this one time, not for this story, but a couple of years ago, I researched bear attacks in Michigan, and there really haven't been very many of them. I think you have to go back years to find a bear attack fatal in Michigan, and it was a child kind of left on their own near a cabin in the UP, sort of left as it's a really rare event. So I think it had this drama of the young girl struggling with the bear and then surviving and being able to talk about it afterwards and tell this great story. So I think it had all the ingredients for a national news story.
Yeah, I agree. I think that especially because she was open to talking about it, I think that's huge. That's key. So I think that definitely made it, bigger than it would have if she wasn't as willing to talk.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, that's, especially for us in the media, that's half the battle.
Exactly.
If she's willing and able and mom and dad are supportive of talking about it, then that moves it along for sure.
Right, definitely.
They also had that same weekend, the man who, in the Cadillac area, saw the bear on his property and felt threatened and shot and wounded the bear. Mm-hmm. The DNR went in and tracked the bear.
What do you think the threshold at that point was for feeling threatened by a bear? Like seeing a bear out the window of your house,
knowing that a neighbor girl just got attacked by a bear. Yeah, probably very low.
And there's another little one running around Silver Lake Road area. I saw on dispatch last night. Yep, just 80 to 100 pound one I think I saw. Just a small one.
Hmm.
I think they're
That's big enough
around
for
more
me,
than, yeah, me too.
But it's part
No
of northern.
thanks.
It's part of living up here that you're going to see bear.
Yeah.
And I always feel lucky when I see a bear. I feel even luckier if I'm in a car. But it's nice to see them. It's.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'll feel next time I see one in the woods if I'm by myself. Not in
The
a car.
threshold is already low. All right, well, let's talk about another story that's kind of overtaken the headlines in Leland County. It seems like we've got a problem with drunk drivers.
Yes.
We've got a host of problems in Leland, and I don't know if that's a matter of reporting by the sheriff, just because the new sheriff, they've added a new blog. They update it every day with information.
Helpful with the media, and I don't know if that's what it is, but the sheriff has told me that this is not something he's seen before, this long list. It seems like their blog over Monday was 5 pages long almost of like just DUI, drugs. So it's a huge problem for him. And I know that he was saying from the very beginning of summer to the June area, he had counted 50 DUIs with drugs and alcohol alone, and that's not up till now. And over the weekend they had 5, I think, just over this one weekend. So it's a huge problem, and I know he has some extra overtime, and he'll be putting 2 patrol cars on over Labor Day weekend just for DUI patrol and people driving under the influence of drugs.
There's a lot of, every DUI is different. There's a twist to everything, but maybe talk about some of the stories up in Leland that stand out to you or that you're focusing on. I mean, this week, Monday, I was looking through the log too, and it was a woman who almost hit tribal police on the side of the road, and there was a DUI enforcement zone set up on Bayshore Drive, and someone called 911 and said there's a drunk driver, and he happened to be heading right toward the enforcement zone, and they were able to catch him too. But those are just 2 examples. What's one of the stories in particular that you're looking at in Leland?
There was one where the woman or the man who almost hit the house, isn't that person was under the influence, I believe.
That one, the neighbors said that I think that last I heard they were still looking for him, but there were witnesses who ran up and said that he was drunk.
Yeah, that's so. I'm sure. I mean, it's one of those things. And I mean, all speculation. They still don't know what happened with the young kid who got pulled over for speeding and then led them on a high-speed chase. You can assume maybe that was something having to do with that. They've just had a slew of strange cases.
That story just struck me as interesting too. The 18-year-old identified as a Traverse City teenager. That got pulled over, like you said, and then ended up taking off when the
got pulled over for going 89 miles an hour, 79
and a 55. And the strangest
which is
part,
way too, I know that way too fast, because that's a curvy country road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pedestrians and I mean, that's just crazy to go that fast on that road.
Well, and then he went about 80, they were saying, through Sutton's Bay, right through the town.
So it's lucky that nobody was
killed. And it was 7:30 at night. It's not like it was 4 in the morning when no one's out. It was, people are out at 7:30, so that was nuts to me and really lucky. But the weird part is that he pulled over, gave them his name, his real name, his age, and a few other things of information. When they went back to run him, he took off.
So they had his name, his birth date, his license plate number of the car he was driving. Yep. So he got away, but he's not going to get away.
Actually, the deputy didn't go back to the car. What he asked him was to step out of the car, and he put the car in drive and took off. So
he didn't step out. What the other, just the oddity of how that story seemed to be presented was, if you have any information about this person, call the sheriff's office, but they know who they're looking for.
They probably know who they're looking for. They'd probably like to know where
he is.
But they also didn't identify this person.
That's true.
As, we want this person. Help us find this person specifically.
And I think that when I was working on this story, I had done it. It happened Saturday. I worked on it Monday, and I know that at that point, Sheriff Borkovich didn't want to release his name just because the prosecutor was still reviewing the report. At this point, I don't know if he would update it. I'm not really sure. I don't know if that had everything to do with it or what.
The other thing that I find kind of sadly amusing about the story is the response that is posted on social media, the response that is posted on your story on the other TV website stories, just the comments from people about how stupid this person is, or there was one comment, and I don't remember which site it was on, but well, if they know who it is, how come they're not saying, and how come you're not reporting it, and why are you withholding this information and protecting this person? And it's almost, like I said, it's sadly amusing that there's that mindset that
that they're protecting.
Now we're out protecting this person.
Not what's going on.
It seems overly cautious for the police not to release the name.
In this situation, I agree.
Yeah. And it's the case in the person who crashed into the house too. They think they know who that person is too, and maybe in that case they think they know who that person is, and maybe they can't release the name because they're less certain about exactly who it is. But
and this was, and we'll go back to your comment, Pat. This same house that's been hit at least once or twice before.
Yeah, this one. This was Saturday night that somebody was driving down. This is near the Narrows. In Umpire Township, near the Glen Lake Narrows, a house that's on M22 there, that I think it's Benzonia Trail and McFarland Road come kind of to a three-way intersection. And in December, somebody drove down the Benzonia Trail Road into the house, causing the homeowner to build
some boulders.
Put a retaining wall of boulders, so that nobody would hit their house. Then in May, somebody came and hit the retaining wall and crashed into there. And then over the weekend, somebody somehow jumped the retaining wall, scraped the house, and wound up disabled, the car disabled in the yard. Some people were at a bonfire nearby. They ran up, and the guy said that the guy seemed completely drunk. He was trying to get his car out. He couldn't get his car out, and then he took off on foot. And that's another. They said, we're looking for somebody. They didn't name, but they think it was somebody like a Traverse City man that they're looking for. And
it seemed when I read that description too of jumping the retaining wall, I had this like Dukes of Hazzard vision of the car flying through
I couldn't
the air.
understand how the mechanics of that work.
Right, but again, the poor homeowners too, to have three times in 1 year.
That's got to be tough.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a break here on the briefing room. We've got more to talk about when we come back with Pat Sullivan and Vanessa Fayz. We'll be right back right after this.
What is Up North TV?
It's TV that you do.
You pick the topic.
You write the script. You run the camera.
You edit the video.
It's your vision.
Your perspective.
Your story.
Commercial free.
Free speech.
What is Up North TV?
It's me.
It's you.
It's all of us.
View us on Analog 97.
Cable digital too.
Digital 992.
UpNorthMedia.org.
Welcome back to the briefing room. I'm Bill Froehlich from WTCM Radio News, joined this week by Vanessa Fayz from 9 and 10 News and Pat Sullivan from Northern Express. Thanks again, guys, for coming in. Want to pick up on another summertime story that Pat, that you had covered in the Northern Express and coming out this coming week.
Yeah, the next edition.
You've covered a story on fireworks, and tell us about the rule breakers and how the story kind of came to be.
Well, I saw that first of all, this summer, just in my personal life, I found that I didn't really understand how the new fireworks law worked. Like, when is it okay to light them off? When isn't it? I just didn't know, and I thought that's weird because I should know that. And then I saw, I go every day. I go look and see who charges have been filed against at the courthouse. So I'm able to check in Grand Traverse, Leland, and Antrim County, just see what the charges are that have been filed. And I saw that somebody a couple weeks ago had been charged with violation of the state fireworks law. And I thought, which is a misdemeanor, carries 90 days in jail. And I thought, that's interesting because I haven't seen that. And it just made me wonder, so what does it take under this new law that's so permissive to get charged with the fireworks law? So I got the police report. I did I talked to prosecutors and to police and kind of figured out how the law works and why in this one particular case this man got charged with with this misdemeanor.
So what is the backstory, or particular kind of firework that he was using, or?
No, well, he was using, it sounds like what he was using was legal, and when he was using it, it was legal to use it. It pretty much during the day of national holidays, the day after, all of this stuff that explodes and flies is okay. Where you can get into trouble is if you're intoxicated. If you light it off and you're intoxicated, that can be a 30-day misdemeanor. And if you light it off, you're intoxicated, and it causes property damage, that's a 90-day misdemeanor. And in this case, this guy was allegedly out on his boat on Spider Lake on July 5th in the afternoon. One witness said he was drinking a lot, and he was letting off fireworks, and it was annoying other people who were parked, they had their boats parked up in a group. And I guess some of the witnesses said they asked him, please, he had these mortar rounds, which I think, though I haven't ever used those, but I think that's the real deal. That's the stuff that goes up in the air and explodes like you see in a fireworks display. He had these, and I guess people were saying, please don't light these off here. It's too crowded. There's people and boats all around. Please don't light these off. And he was allegedly belligerent and said, no, I can do whatever I want here. And he lit off one of them that went up and came down on somebody's pontoon boat and scorched the deck and caused over $1,000 worth of damage. Gotcha. So the police were called, and they decided that he met these, that they suspected him being intoxicated, that it caused property damage, and
Gotcha.
A lot of the confusion I found comes from the fact that under the new fireworks law, as I said earlier, they're okay on national holidays the day before, the day after, and then it's up to townships and villages and cities to make restrictions on the other days. If they don't do it, like I guess where I live in Solon Township in Leland County, there's no local ordinance, but in a lot of places there are local ordinances, like in Traverse City, Garfield Township, Peninsula Township, most of Leland County except for 3 townships. You're not allowed to most days, and then there's kind of a curfew cutoff time on holidays where you can't do it after a certain hour.
Which they just implemented this year.
Yeah. I missed the days of sparklers. I mean, that was enough for me. I was good to go.
Yeah, the stuff that just shoots up some nice colorful lights. Yeah, that was nice.
Easy enough. Let's close out tonight with talking about what seems to be the biggest story of the summer, obviously, the hit-and-run death of Kelly Boyce Hulburt. And we had what we thought was a lead last week, and at least at this point, we're not any closer, at least publicly, with that. Tell us kind of your take on it, Vanessa.
It sounded like this could really be the person. I think it's just really sad because obviously I know that if I was, in her family or a really close friend of hers, I would be just dying for justice and wanting to know who did this. So it just seems like it obviously it was the prime tourist season. It could be somebody that doesn't really live here, and it's really hard, I think, to kind of get a good lead on it. And I'm interested to see, because I never heard anything after that person was a person of interest. So I don't know where that stands right now, I guess.
Yeah, and they highlighted, not by name, but pretty specifically, they had an idea of a person in Alpena who they weren't ruling out after, I think they said hundreds of hours of investigation and several different interviews and several witnesses were brought in. And
somebody who they said specifically was not a suspect and specifically was not a person of interest, but was somebody who the furthest that they would go was to say that this was a person who they couldn't rule out.
Right. And this came out, I think, last Thursday.
Yeah.
And what just kind of struck me about it at that time was they've got to be close, or they wouldn't give us this much information. They've got to be prepping us for this potential arrest on Friday or Monday, or it's got to be right around the corner. But then it just kind of fizzled out.
But I think if I was there when Captain Ailing was talking about this, and I got the sense that he was being very tentative, and he definitely gave us enough information to do the story, and the story, because it was about this hit and run, got a lot of play and got very prominent. I mean, it turned into a big story because of what it was about. But I could tell when he was talking to us about this, but that he was being very tentative and that he was being very cautious, and that there was no imminent sense that he was on the verge of doing anything. And I don't think I don't think they were thinking. I think this was part of what their strategy has been all along, to keep this in the news, to say, give them an update every once in a while so that this remains in the news, so that maybe something will. It'll cause some new tip to come in that'll break the case wide open. But it seems like they're being very, it seems like if they have a case on this one, it's going to be a really tough one to make, and they're being very cautious, and they want to make sure that they have everything covered before they jump in and say.
Yeah, so you don't know, maybe they are still prominently working on it, and it just isn't in the news.
And I agree that he was tentative about it in that morning meeting with us last week, but just the nature of telling us as much as he did, when this is out of 600 tips, this is the one they're focusing on. I think it gave a lot of people maybe some false hope, but maybe there was another strategy to it of maybe somebody else knows this person in Alpena and now will come forward and help us
right.
seal the deal or move on. But we haven't heard anything about it in a week either. That's the other thing, is not even a yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down, anything at this point.
Right. It's just kind of there on the table. I don't know. I hope they find someone soon, though. It's a really sad, unfortunate situation.
Well, guys, I want to thank both of you for coming in this week. Pat Sullivan from Northern Express, Vanessa Fayz from 9 and 10 News, and I'm Bill Froehlich from WTCM Radio. Thanks for watching the Briefing Room this week. You can check out the Up North Media website to watch the rebroadcast or any of our shows, or the blog, thebriefingroom.org. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again next week.